Marvel's Spider-Man 2. If you loved the first two games, get ready to have your mind blown, because this sequel takes everything up a notch. It's got all the web-swinging, action-packed, open-world goodness from the first game, but with some seriously awesome upgrades that make you feel even more like Spidey. First off, swinging through New York again? Man, I could do that for hours. The way they've refined the web-swinging mechanics is just so smooth. You're gliding through the city, flipping between skyscrapers, and pulling off crazy mid-air tricks. There's this new web glider thing that lets you cover so much ground so fast. It's like Spidey's flying, and it's the best feeling when you're cruising over Central Park or zipping through tight alleyways. It makes you feel unstoppable, and you'll never want to use fast travel. And this time, you get to switch between Peter and Miles, which is a game changer. Both of them have their own fighting styles and unique abilities, so it never feels repetitive. Peter's got his classic gadgets, but now he's also rocking those symbiote powers that just feel brutal. You can really feel the strength when he's using them. It's like he's just tearing through enemies. And then you've got Miles, who's all about that flashy Venom energy. I loved how you could seamlessly switch between them, depending on the mission or just how you wanted to play. The combat, too, has been seriously upgraded. It's fast, fluid, and makes you feel like you're choreographing these epic battles. You're pulling off these crazy combos, switching between gadgets, and using your environment to take down enemies in the most creative ways possible. Next, we have Dying Light. You know, there's something about Dying Light that just pulls you in. It's not just another zombie game. And trust me, I've played my share. What really grabbed me when I first picked it up was the way it mixed parkour with zombie survival. I mean, you're not just running from zombies, you're vaulting over fences, climbing buildings, and pulling off these crazy fluid parkour moves that make you feel like you're actually there. It's like the city is your playground, but with the constant threat of the undead breathing down your neck. That mix of freedom and fear, it's exhilarating. And the city of Heron? It's gritty, dirty, and oozing with atmosphere. During the day, you're mostly dealing with the slow, lumbering zombies, and you start to feel kind of bold, like, yeah, I got this. You're scavenging, crafting weapons, taking out a few zombies here and there, feeling pretty good about yourself. But as soon as night falls, it's like the game flips the script. You go from being the predator to the prey. Those volatiles, they still haunt me, honestly. The first time one spotted me, I panicked and barely escaped. The night cycle adds this whole other layer of tension, making you think twice before staying out too late. One of my favorite things, though, is how the game encourages creativity. You're not just limited to using guns or blunt objects. No, you can modify weapons, throw firecrackers to distract the undead, or set traps. I remember finding a baseball bat and modding it to electrocute zombies. Next, we have Mafia 2. This game hits differently. It's got this classic, almost cinematic feel to it, like you're stepping into an old mobster movie. From the moment it starts, you're drawn into this gritty 1940s and 50s world where the cars are big, the suits are sharp, and everything's just dripping with atmosphere. The setting of Empire Bay feels alive, like you can almost smell the exhaust from the cars and hear the hum of jazz coming out of a diner as you pass by. But what really gets me about Mafia 2 is the story. You're following Vito Scaletta, this guy who's just trying to make a life for himself after returning home from World War II. And you feel for the guy. He's not some untouchable, over-the-top hero. He's just a regular dude who gets sucked into this whole criminal underworld. And it's not even glamorous. Mafia 2 makes it pretty clear that this life comes with heavy consequences. The missions are top-notch too. 1 minute you're robbing a jewelry store. The next you're in this intense shootout, ducking behind cars and trading gunfire. It's got this old-school classic gangster vibe. One thing I love is how Mafia 2 doesn't overdo the open-world stuff. It's not like you're getting sidetracked with a million random activities. The game keeps its focus tight on the story, which I appreciate. It feels like every mission matters, and you're always pushing forward to see what happens next. Even though it's been years since it came out, Mafia 2 still holds up. If you're into mobster stories or just love a game that feels cinematic, Mafia 2 is definitely worth revisiting. Next we have Horizon Zero Dawn. You ever play a game that completely pulls you into its world and makes you forget time exists? From the very start, it hit me with its vast open world and beautiful landscapes. It's like stepping into a future where nature and machines are in this strange yet fascinating balance. The contrast of lush forests, snowy mountains, and decaying remnants of the old world just blew me away. I'd find myself stopping, not to complete a mission, but just to take in the view. What really pulled me in was Aloy, the main character. She's strong, independent, and driven, but still relatable. Her journey to uncover the truth about her past kept me hooked, and I felt a connection with her that not many games manage to achieve. Every interaction, every choice made me feel like I was walking her path, not just controlling her through a screen. The machines in Horizon are some of the most unique enemies I've ever encountered. They're massive, unpredictable, and have this alien feel to them, yet they belong perfectly in this world. Each machine required a different approach, forcing me to think and adapt. It never felt repetitive. Instead, it kept things fresh, especially when you take down something huge like a Thunderjaw. I remember the first time I did, and it felt like a massive victory. The combat made me feel like a hunter, not just a fighter, and that added a layer of depth I really appreciated. The story also has a lot going for it. There's mystery, there's emotion, and there's this haunting sense of loss throughout the game. Next we have Far Cry 5. It's got all the things you'd expect from a Far Cry game. Open-world chaos, intense gunfights, and that sense of freedom to approach missions however you want. But this time, it's all set in the rural heartland of America, and that gives it a totally different vibe. What I loved about Far Cry 5 is how open-ended the gameplay is. You can literally do things your way. Want to storm a cult outpost, guns blazing? Go for it. Prefer to sneak around with a bow, taking out enemies silently? That works too. And then there's the ridiculous factor. This is a game where you can call in a bear named Cheeseburger or a dog, Boomer, to help you in battle. It's over the top in the best way. One of the big changes in Far Cry 5 is the way missions work. There's no set structure or main storyline that you're forced to follow. Instead, you earn resistance points by completing side missions, liberating outposts, and causing general chaos. As you build up resistance in each region, the story progresses naturally. It's a cool way to keep things feeling dynamic, and lets you choose how you want to play. There's also a ton of customization. You can upgrade your weapons, unlock perks, and even hire guns for hire to help you out in tough situations. There's a strategy to how you approach each mission, but it's always balanced by that freedom to just go nuts if you want to. One thing that stood out for me is how relevant the game feels. The whole idea of a cult taking over a rural town and pushing their beliefs on people, it's unsettling because it feels like something that could actually happen. Next we have The Last of Us. Oh man, where do I even begin? You know how some games just stick with you long after you've finished them? That's exactly what The Last of Us did for me. It's so emotionally charged. Like, I knew it was going to be intense, but it's even more than I expected. Joel and Ellie's relationship? It's not just a typical protect the girl storyline. They feel like real people with real flaws. I think that's what I loved most, how raw and human it all feels. You watch them grow together in this messed up world, and it's not always pretty, but it's real. Speaking of the world, the post-apocalyptic setting is both terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Naughty Dog nailed that feeling of dread when you're walking through those overgrown cities. It's eerie, especially with the sound design. The clickers? Man, every time I heard them my heart rate went up. And they're not even the worst part. The humans in this game? Sometimes they're scarier than the infected. But honestly, it's the quieter moments that hit me the hardest. There's this one scene with Ellie in the giraffe sequence that made me just stop and take it in. In a world where everything's falling apart, there are still these tiny glimpses of beauty, you know? It makes you think about how people hold on to hope, even in the worst situations. Gameplay-wise, it's super tight. There's this constant balance of stealth, action, and scavenging. But what I appreciated most was how every encounter felt like it had stakes. You don't always have enough resources to just go guns blazing, so you've got to be smart about how you handle situations. Next we have Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Now, this is a game that doesn't hold back. From the moment you start, it's full throttle, no apologies. The story picks up right after the first one, and let me tell you, they dive straight into the madness. You've got BJ Blazkowicz, still the ultimate Nazi killing machine, but now even more battle-worn and broken, both physically and mentally. And yet, he's still got that fire. He's out for blood, but there's this deeper emotional side to him in this game that really surprised me. The gunplay is pure chaos in the best way. The weapons are so satisfying, and when you dual-wield two massive guns, it's like you're a one-man army mowing down everything in your path. The combat is fast, brutal, and it just feels good. Every shot has impact. And the enemies don't just drop, they explode into chunks when you hit them right. It's gloriously over the top, and I loved every second of it. Oh, and let's talk about the villains. Frau Engel, she's terrifying. She's not just some generic evil figure. She's genuinely unsettling, with this twisted obsession and cruelty that makes her a perfect antagonist. You really want to take her down, and that's what drives you forward. The way the game builds tension between you and her is brilliant, and every time she shows up, you know things are about to get wild. The characters are fantastic. Whether it's old friends from the Resistance or new allies you meet along the way, everyone's got their own personality, and it makes you care about them. Some scenes had me laughing, others had me really thinking, and a few hit me harder than I expected. Next we have Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's not your typical medieval RPG, and that's exactly what makes it so special. When I first started, I was blown away by how grounded it feels. You're not some chosen one or knight in shining armor. You're just Henry, a blacksmith's son. And that's one of the best things about it. The game doesn't hold your hand, and it really throws you into this unforgiving world of Bohemia. It's gritty, realistic, and refreshingly different from other RPGs that lean into fantasy. The realism in this game is next level. There's no magic or dragons here. Everything is based on actual historical events, and the attention to detail is crazy. The armor, the weapons, the way people live. It's also authentic, and that extends to the gameplay too. The combat system, for example, is super unique. It's not just about button mashing your way through fights. It's tactical, slow-paced, and takes a lot of practice to get right. Sword fighting in particular feels so different from any other game. It's all about timing, positioning, and strategy. You really need to pay attention to how your opponent moves. What I love about Kingdom Come Deliverance is how immersive the world is. The landscape is stunning, and the towns and villages feel alive. You walk through the streets, and people are going about their daily routines. There's a sense that life continues, whether you're there or not. The historical accuracy is something else too. The game takes place during an actual period in history. You can tell they've poured so much effort into making everything feel as true to the time as possible. Next we have Infamous Second Son. It's such a great pick when looking back at favorite games, especially after all these years. It's one of those games that might not always get mentioned in the big best of all time list, but for those who played it, it really leaves a lasting impression. The game came out as one of the earlier titles for the PS4, and honestly, it still holds up really well. You step into the shoes of Delson Rowe, a rebellious guy who suddenly gets these insane superpowers. What I love about the game is how good it feels to actually use those powers. Whether you're running up buildings, gliding through the air, or just wrecking shop with your abilities, the movement and action feel super smooth and fun. The game absolutely nails that sense of power, which, let's face it, is what we're all here for in a superhero-style game. Seattle is the backdrop for all the action, and they did such a good job with the city's vibe. It's not a carbon copy of the real Seattle, but it's got enough personality to feel alive, and the way the environment changes based on your actions is a nice touch. That whole dynamic, where your choices matter, whether you want to be a hero or lean into a more destructive, rebellious path, adds a layer of replayability. And honestly, both paths are equally fun. Infamous Second Son really nails that feeling of freedom, and the pacing keeps you engaged from start to finish. It's one of those games where you can easily lose hours just exploring, testing out your powers, and getting into epic showdowns with the game's enemies. And even though it's been a while since it first dropped, it's still a total blast to revisit. Next we have Deus Ex Mankind Divided. It's a sequel to Deus Ex Human Revolution, and it builds on everything that made that game great. Right off the bat, the world is what draws you in. It's set in a future where people with cybernetic enhancements, or AUGs, are treated like outcasts, and it really dives into these deep themes of segregation and oppression. You play as Adam Jensen, who's basically the coolest, most badass augmented human ever. He's got all these crazy high-tech upgrades that you can customize, and that's one of the best things about the game. It lets you play the way you want. Whether you're sneaking through vents like a ghost, hacking every terminal in sight, or going full-on combat mode with guns blazing, the choice is yours. The game doesn't force you down a certain path, and I love that freedom. The Prague setting is dark, gritty, and packed with detail. It's a world that feels alive, with all these little stories happening around you. Every corner you turn, there's something to discover, whether it's a side mission, a hidden path, or just some cool piece of lore that fleshes out the world even more. The attention to detail is top-notch. The story itself is complex and layered, dealing with conspiracies, political intrigue, and moral choices. What makes Mankind Divided stand out for me is how immersive the experience is. You get so wrapped up in Jensen's world. Next we have Death Stranding, one of the most divisive games out there. When this game dropped, it was like half the gaming community loved it, and the other half was just like, what is this? It's a Hideo Kojima game, so you know it was going to be unique. But Death Stranding took that to a whole new level. Instead of fast-paced action or combat-heavy gameplay, you're a delivery guy in a post-apocalyptic world. It's a game about walking, hiking, and, yes, carrying boxes. People were super confused by the whole concept, especially because the marketing was so mysterious. The trailers didn't really explain much. And when players realized they'd be spending a lot of time delivering packages across desolate landscapes, some were disappointed. It wasn't the action-packed game people expected from the creator of Metal Gear Solid. But here's where the game shines. Death Stranding isn't trying to be a traditional game. It's about the journey, the connections you make, and the feeling of isolation in a broken world. And if you get into that mindset, the game is really something special. It's strangely relaxing, even though it has some seriously intense moments. The way it handles the idea of connecting players, allowing you to help out others in the world by leaving equipment or building structures, was pretty innovative. It made the world feel shared, even though it's a single-player game. Sure, it's not for everyone. If you're looking for constant action, Death Stranding might not be your cup of tea, but if you're in the mood for something different, something that really takes its time to build atmosphere, it's a game that delivers a unique experience. Next we have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. From the very beginning, you're dropped into this massive open world, and it's completely up to you what to do next. No hand-holding, no strict path, just pure, unfiltered exploration. One of the coolest things about Breath of the Wild is the sense of freedom. You see a mountain way off in the distance? You can climb it. You spot a random little forest on your way to a shrine? Go explore it. You might find a secret or even stumble on a side quest. And the game rewards you for being curious. Everywhere you go, there's something hidden, some surprise, some little detail that makes you feel like the developers thought of everything. And speaking of surprises, the physics and chemistry systems in this game are unreal. You can use the environment to solve puzzles in ways that feel totally unique to you. Like, if you're clever enough, you can create crazy solutions to puzzles that don't even feel right. But the game encourages that. You can even use metal weapons to attract lightning during storms or set grass on fire to create updrafts for your glider. It's like a sandbox that's just begging you to mess around and get creative. And let's not forget the combat. It's challenging, but in a really rewarding way. You don't just mindlessly hack and slash. You need to time your dodges, be aware of your surroundings, and think about your strategy. The weapon durability system is a hot topic, but honestly, it adds to that survival feel. You're encouraged to experiment with different weapons and tactics, which keeps things interesting. Next we have Detroit Become Human. It's one of those games where you're not just watching a story play out, you're actually shaping it. Your choices matter, and I mean really matter. The choices aren't always easy either. Sometimes you're like, what's the right choice here? And there's no clear answer. It's all about what you value, and that affects the relationships you build and the path you take. There's this branching storyline, so the game reacts to your choices in a way that feels organic. Each playthrough can be so different, and it's wild seeing how even small decisions can snowball into something huge later on. You play as 3 different androids, each with their own story, and the game does an amazing job of making you care about each one. You feel invested in their struggles, their choices, and what they want for their lives. The best part for me was the emotional weight. The game digs into some pretty deep themes: freedom, empathy, what it means to be human. And because it's so interactive, it really makes you think about what you do in these situations. By the end, you're not just playing a game, you're reflecting on your own beliefs and choices, which is pretty rare for a video game. And Detroit doesn't shy away from tension either. There are moments where you're genuinely on the edge of your seat, trying to make quick decisions that could totally change everything. And the stakes are high because, things can go wrong in big ways if you make a wrong call. So, yeah, Detroit Become Human is perfect if you're into games that let you dig into a story deeply and that give you control over what happens. It's genuinely unforgettable. Next we have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. If you're familiar with the Yakuza series, you already know you're in for something big, bold, and just a little over the top. This game picks up with our guy, Ichiban Kasuga, who's back for another round of absolute chaos, heartwarming moments, and more twists than you can count. And let me tell you, if you're ready for a journey that's equal parts action, drama, and pure hilarity, this one's going to hit the spot. What makes Infinite Wealth stand out is how it blends a serious story with some of the funniest, most bizarre side activities you'll ever see. One minute, you're dealing with intense emotional scenes. The next, you're wrapped up in a totally ridiculous minigame, and you're laughing because it's so outrageous. It's like they managed to throw in every wild idea they could think of, and somehow it all works. And with Ichiban leading the way, every moment feels fresh and unpredictable. Now, the turn-based combat, it's back, and better than ever. The strategy side of things adds this fun layer to every battle, and it's packed with quirky moves that only a game like a Dragon could pull off. And if you've played the previous games, you'll notice the combat's even more refined here. It's still got that signature mix of outlandish attacks and strategic depth, which makes every fight feel epic and hilarious at the same time. But beyond the action, it's really about the characters. Ichiban is one of those protagonists who's impossible not to root for. He's got this mix of loyalty, optimism, and pure heart that makes him stand out. Infinite Wealth is a must-play. Next we have Gears 5. Even if you're new to the Gears series, trust me, Gears 5 is an amazing place to jump in. It's got everything you'd want in a blockbuster game: great characters, intense firefights, and a world that's equal parts beautiful and brutal. The combat in Gears 5 feels incredibly smooth, and every gunfight has that intense, cover-based strategy that makes Gears so satisfying. Popping out from cover, landing that perfect headshot, or getting up close and personal with the Lancer's chainsaw never gets old. There's something just downright satisfying about how combat feels here. Each weapon has a unique kick to it, so you're never just mindlessly firing away. It's all about timing and positioning. Plus, with the addition of Jack, your handy little drone buddy, you get some new abilities that mix things up in fun ways. He can cloak you, zap enemies, and even fetch items, so he's a true lifesaver in tight spots. And let's take a second to appreciate the world. Gears 5 introduces these open-world sections where you can explore on this sweet vehicle called the Skiff. Just zipping across the snowy tundra or the desert sands is a vibe all on its own. The world feels alive and dynamic, with lots of cool, hidden places to discover. It's not exactly a fully open world, but it's enough to let you roam around and soak in the atmosphere, and it really breaks up the action nicely. You're not just going from one big fight to the next. You actually have time to breathe, explore, and take in some amazing views. The story here actually has some serious depth. Next we have Monster Hunter World, a game that's all about epic hunts, incredible creatures, and just a whole lot of fun. If you've ever wanted to feel like the ultimate hunter, taking down massive, fantastical beasts with a giant sword, or hammer, or bow, or even a bagpipe, then this game is calling your name. And trust me, once you start, it's hard to put down. The combat in Monster Hunter World is intense, but in the best way possible. You've got so many weapons to choose from, each with its own feel and playstyle. There's something for everyone. Whether you want to get up close and personal with a giant sword, keep your distance with a bow, or support your friends with a hunting horn, it's all there. Each weapon has its own learning curve, but mastering one feels incredibly rewarding. And the game doesn't rush you. You can spend hours just getting comfortable with different weapons and finding out which one really clicks for you. The best part about hunting, though, is that it's not just a straightforward swing till it drops kind of deal. You've got to pay attention to the monster's movements, study its behavior, and figure out when it's vulnerable. Every hunt is like a puzzle, and it's up to you to figure out how to take down each monster. It's challenging, but never frustrating, and every victory feels earned. You'll find yourself thinking, okay, maybe just one more hunt, over and over again. The monsters themselves are really the stars here. Each one is so unique, with its own behaviors, attack patterns, and quirks. You've got massive dragons, thunderous lizards, and even creatures that can camouflage themselves in the environment. Next we have Astrobot. You've probably heard whispers about this little robot. And let me tell you, Astrobot is the kind of game that's just pure joy from start to finish. It's the type of game that makes you feel like a kid again, with that big, goofy grin plastered on your face, because it's just so much fun. So, Astrobot is essentially a platformer, but it's one that uses VR, Or, in the case of Astro's Playroom, the power of the PS5, to really blow your mind. The way Astrobot integrates VR and takes advantage of 3D space is something that's hard to explain without playing it. But here's my best shot. You're not just controlling Astro on a flat screen. You're actually there with him, looking around and interacting with this vibrant, charming world in a way that feels so immersive. It's like being inside your own mini Pixar movie, where you're right there with the characters. What's awesome about Astrobot is how it brings that classic platforming feel, but in a way that's totally fresh. Astro himself is this adorable little robot, and right from the get-go, you can't help but love the guy. He's got so much personality. Whether he's running, climbing, or just doing his little dance moves, he's always putting on a show. And the game totally leans into this, giving you all these adorable little moments that make Astro feel like your own tiny companion. One thing I absolutely loved about Astrobot is how clever the level design is. Every stage feels unique and packed with surprises. The game throws all these fun mechanics and challenges at you. It's just one delight after another. Next we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It takes everything Call of Duty is known for, fast-paced combat, intense firefights, and cranks it up to the max. This game isn't just about quick reflexes. It's about living out those high-stakes, cinematic moments that you'd normally only see in movies. Modern Warfare 2 is probably one of the most memorable campaigns in the whole Call of Duty series. What I love about the campaign is how well it balances action with quieter, suspenseful moments. It's not just non-stop explosions and chaos, though there's plenty of that. There are also these more thoughtful moments, where you have to rely on stealth, tactics, or just careful observation. It's a cool change of pace, and it makes those big, explosive moments hit even harder. Plus, the story is packed with memorable characters. You'll see some familiar faces like Soap and Captain Price, and the chemistry between them is fantastic. It's like being in an action movie, where every character has their own vibe, and you end up feeling genuinely invested in what happens to them. This campaign is really clever about mixing things up, so you're never doing the same thing twice. There's a little bit of everything. Stealth missions, full-blown shootouts, and even some sequences that almost feel like puzzles, where you have to think about how to use the environment to your advantage. Every mission has its own personality, and each one is designed to keep you engaged and constantly adapting to new situations. It's the kind of game where you never know what's coming next, and that unpredictability keeps it exciting from start to finish. Next we have Borderlands 3. The combat in Borderlands 3 is just pure, unfiltered chaos in the best way possible. You've got guns that shoot other guns, grenades that create black holes, and even weapons that yell insults while you fire them. It's not just about how many guns there are, though there are a lot. It's how creative and ridiculous they are. Every time you pick up a new weapon, you never know if it's going to completely change how you play, or just make you laugh out loud. And let's not forget the movement. They've really amped it up in this game. You can slide, mantle, and just zoom around the battlefield like a maniac. It makes every encounter feel dynamic and keeps the adrenaline pumping. There's nothing quite like sliding into cover, tossing out your action skill, and watching as absolute mayhem unfolds around you. Now let's talk about the world. Or should I say worlds? This isn't just Pandora anymore. Nope. Borderlands 3 takes you to multiple planets, each with its own unique vibe. You've got lush jungles, neon-lit cities, and even deserts that feel alive with danger and opportunity. It's a visual feast, and the art style? Still that iconic comic book-inspired look, but sharper and more vibrant than ever. It's like someone took a Saturday morning cartoon, threw in some chaos, and cranked it up to HD. Now, I know some people think the story in Borderlands 3 might be a bit wild or over the top, but that's kind of the point. It's unapologetically zany, and for me, that's a big part of the charm. It's not trying to be deep or serious. Next we have the Callisto Protocol. It's from Glenn Schofield, one of the co-creators of Dead Space, so if you know that series, you can expect a similar intensity here, with a unique twist that keeps things fresh. One of the things I love about this game is how it creates tension. It's not just jump scares, though there are a few really effective ones. It's that constant feeling of dread. You're almost always low on ammo and health, so every encounter with the twisted, mutated inmates of this prison feels like a struggle to survive. The combat is brutal and up close, forcing you to really get in there and make every swing count. It's not your typical action game where you can just spray bullets and move on. Here, you're scraping by with whatever resources you can find, and it adds so much to the immersion and intensity. The combat is visceral. There's this raw, almost primal feel to it. The melee system in particular is pretty unique for a horror game. You actually have to get in close to bash these creatures, and it's terrifying in the best way. You're not just standing back with a gun, you're practically fighting for your life in every encounter, which makes the experience that much more intense. What really stands out, though, is how the game creates this balance between horror and sci-fi mystery. Sure, you're dealing with terrifying creatures and survival, but there's also this big, intriguing story underneath it all. Why did everything go wrong on Callisto? What's causing these transformations? The game does a great job of feeding you bits and pieces of the narrative as you go, making you want to keep pushing forward.